the studio, everybody. We are here with none other than wealth management expert Jim Dew, and today we are going to talk about the most important asset you can pass on to your kids. It's not real estate, it's not crypto, but first, we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of estate planning. So Jim, can you give us a little bit of an overview about what estate planning is and kind of how to go about it?
Yeah, well, estate planning is really about where is your money and stuff going to go and your assets going to go when you die, and how is it going to be managed if you're incapacitated or disabled. And some of the basic documents, probably almost everyone on the call needs a basic will, but a will is synonymous with probate. So if you have a will, your family still goes through probate. So you might need something called a revocable family or revocable living trust, especially if you have young kids, if you have assets, if you have property in more than one state, you might need a revocable living trust. And each state can be different depending on if you live in a common law state or a community property state. There's also things like powers of attorney, a power of attorney for healthcare, a power of attorney for finance. So making sure that you have those documents in place and you've named at least 3 people. So, hey, this person's going to handle my finances if I'm disabled or incapacitated. If that person can't, then person number 2. If that person can't, then person number 3. So think in threes when you're getting those basic documents set up. And everyone, even young people, need those basic documents for protection in case they die, but also in case they get incapacitated.
Gotcha. So you've talked a little bit about some of the documents you need, some of the legal entities you need, those trusts. What are some common pitfalls that people experience or that you've seen people have, and how do you avoid those?
Well, a lot of people, when they get those documents, they don't keep them updated, and things change. So sometimes I've seen people who have documents and they've got Uncle Bob was named as the successor trustee of their trust, and Uncle Bob died 10 years ago. There are also a lot of law changes that happen over time. So make sure that if anything changes in your personal life and your family life, update those documents when that happens. And if not, every 3 to 5 years, you should sit down with your attorney and review those documents to make sure you're not making mistakes.
That's awesome. Those are good ways to catch yourself to make sure that you don't fall into those traps. Now, we promise you guys the most important asset you can possibly pass on. Jim, what is it? What's the most important asset?
The most important asset, let me frame it up this way. I've asked entrepreneurs for years, what do you want to leave to your family when you go? And they talk about all their money and their stuff. And I say, okay, other than your money and your stuff, what do you want to leave? And then they tell me about their values, about their goals, about the wisdom they've learned in their lifetime. And then I ask a simple question. If you could only leave one of those, your money and your stuff, or that wisdom, which would you leave to your kids and grandkids? And they always say, my wisdom. Because money and stuff can be squandered. But if you have the wisdom, you can build it up all over again and you can have a great life. So how are you passing on your wisdom? I just lost my dad 2 years ago, and my dad has a great life story. He grew up very poor. He was in World War II in the South Pacific. And I think to myself, oftentimes, I'd love to ask Dad that question, or I'd like to hear that story one more time. But I can't. He's gone. Whatever I have on my dad is what I have. But you can still do this for your kids and grandkids. You can still get this from your parents or grandparents if they're still alive. Get the stories in videos. Put those in a digital lockbox so that your family can enjoy that for multiple generations, because the wisdom is going to matter more than the money and the stuff.
That's awesome. You know, my grandpa, he's like the fittest old man you'll ever meet. And about 10 years ago, you know, he goes running and bike riding and he does all this stuff. And to me, he was like, he wasn't even old just because he was so like invincible. And about 10 years ago, I feel like there was like this family history craze, you know, with Ancestry.com popping up and stuff. And my family started recording him. I was like, why are you recording him? Like, he's going to be around for forever. And now, within the last year or two, he has Alzheimer's now, and he's losing a lot of his stories and things. And so I'm super grateful that, 10 years ago, we all were already able to record all of these stories. And have this memory for forever. So I totally agree with you that is the most important thing that you could do. And I guess, do you have any other advice for people? Like, how do you start? What are some of the resources that you would recommend to putting them in? What kind of digital lockboxes are available?
There are a lot of different ones out there, and you just want to make sure that whatever you use is reliable and dependable and has backups, because anything can get destroyed or lost. So make sure you have backups to anything you're doing as far as how you're keeping that stuff in a digital lockbox. There are also other things you can do. I've seen people who they actually start an email that their kids don't know about, and on that email, they put in videos and stories at each point along that child's lifetime, and then they turn over the key to seeing that email, and all those emails when the child turns 18 or when the child gets married or any of those types of things, or if you die. A really cool way to kind of document stuff in an email that your children don't know about, but there's a way they can get to it either if you die, hopefully not that way, or at a certain age when you say, hey, I've accumulated this throughout your life and this is for you. What a great gift.
That's amazing. Well, Jim, thank you for sharing with us your wisdom today on this digital lockbox of YouTube, and we will see you guys on the next one.